So we're going to continue the series here, and we're going to talk about what we can do to make data seem a little differently to the end user. So let's take two criteria of submitting reports for managers. One being that the reports are easy to read, and two being that the data presented is meaningful. So I think if we look at the previous report that we completed, you'll see that it is easy to read. We don't have a problem with that. We understand that we have system names here, we have an operating system name, and that we have client status and the active status of clients. The problem is to the average person who's not familiar with the data presented with CM, the numbers and the values that are under the client and active columns don't really mean anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that data set so that it means something. And what we're going to do is we're going to change these so that the values are yes and the values are no, meaning yes there's a client or no there's a client, and yes that client's active or no it's not. So what we're going to do is go into the design phase of the report, and we're going to edit the data set. So the data set that we have was the query that we built in the last one. You just simply select the data set and double click it. It'll bring up the query. Now what we're going to change is this section right here with the client and the active. So I've already preloaded the piece of the query that I'm going to replace, and what I'm doing is I'm replacing this with what's called a case statement. And I'll put that in here, and then I'll explain what that case statement is doing. So what this is that, as you recall in the previous query, all it was displaying the value of client 0, which is a field inside the database. What I'm doing here is I'm saying that in the case when the value of client 0 is 1, then we want the value of the resulting variable to be yes. Otherwise, it's no, because there are only two values, yes or no, and yes is represented by a 1. We're going to do the same thing, and we're going to say when the active value is equal to 1, then change that value to yes, else make that value a no. So that's really essentially all we're doing with this. So we're going to go ahead and go into Query Designer now that we've completed that, again connecting to the current user, because I want to run this to make sure that it's valid. If you drag this down, you can see the case statements there, and further down you can see the rest of it, but I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. Hit the exclamation plate to do it, and as you can see, it has changed the values to yes and no. So we're all good there. We know the query is working. So click OK. Click OK to set that. Now, here's a kicker that we want to make sure that we catch now and we don't get later. The values that are represented by client 0 and active 0 have now changed from numeric to alphanumeric. This in here is set to a sum, which is a numeric value. We want to make sure that we go back into here and see this box that's appearing when I hover. You click on that box with your left mouse button and reselect the field, and it changes it to its current value, which is an alphanumeric field. Do the same thing for active 0. Now that we've done that, we're going to run that, and now your report reflects the yes and no. So that's really what I wanted to illustrate with this video. It's a very short video, was how to use case statements to transform numeric values into values that mean something. And that's all for this one.